Hello there. Happy Monday, and welcome to this week's Heart to Heart. I'm your host, Karen Del Maestro, health and transformation coach, breast cancer and BRCA2 thriver. And if we haven't yet met, I specialize in helping breast cancer survivors to get back there, get up and go, to stop putting themselves on the back burner and focusing on everybody else first so that you can create your best life yet. And with that being said, today we are going to be talking about 3 effective self-care solutions to quickly boost your energy. And I'll tell you why this is such an important topic, right? Is because something I see everywhere, right? In all of the groups, in our group, in the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community, everywhere I look, I see people struggling with their energy level, especially if you're on continuing medications after treatment has ended, things like aromatase inhibitors or estrogen blocking medications or minimizing, there's so many different kinds, but many of these medications, one of their major side effects is fatigue. And I'm not talking about the kind of fatigue where it's just like, oh yeah, feeling a bit tired today. Like bone sucking, can't get out of bed fatigue for many. And what frustrates me, to be honest, is I hear so many stories where people are saying, Karen, I went to my doctor. He said it's just normal. It's side effects. There's nothing we can do. And I'm really sorry, but it's just not true. It's not true. And so I'm going to be sharing some of these effective solutions to quickly boost your energy with you today. And here's the thing, right? Yes, we're tired, but it doesn't mean that we just have to suck it up and accept it as one of the side effects of these medications. Now, is there a baseline of breast cancer related fatigue that we feel? 100% yes. Yes. Why? Well, if you look at your journey, you've been through a really major trauma, no matter what your course of treatment has been. And the reason I say that is, and I hear from some people who say, well, I just had a lumpectomy. Here's the deal. You heard the words, you have breast cancer. That's trauma right there. That moment is a moment that you will not forget. You didn't know in that moment if you were going to live or die. You made a decision to fight. You made a decision to do everything you could to be here. And you went on this roller coaster ride of treatment. And when treatment ended, you may very well have felt exactly the way that I did, which was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I remember thinking, I'm so confused. I'm supposed to be jumping for joy. I'm supposed to be celebrating like crazy. And yet I felt confused. I felt overwhelmed. I felt scared. I'm like, well, where's my safety net gone? Because that's how I felt going through treatment. And maybe you can relate to that. But then the exhaustion just sits in, right? It makes us really, really exhausted. Absolutely exhausted. And I want to kind of do a little diagram for you so that you can kind of get a visual for it. I'm big on visuals. So I want to draw this little diagram for you so that you can kind of get inside my head, which is kind of scary. But I hope it'll help you to actually understand this level of fatigue and how, and I'm going to be sharing some common mistakes that I see with you shortly before I dive into some solutions, because I want to let you know what some things that you could start to do differently. Okay. So, first of all, let me go a bit thicker on this. Okay. I invite you to think of your body. And obviously, I am no artist. And so please be kind, but you'll know what it is, I hope, in a second. All right. So I invite you to think of your body as a teapot. Okay. I grew up in the UK. And so this analogy for me just works and fits really, really well. Okay. So, and our energy level, I think of as the amount of tea in our teapot. Now, when we're done with treatment, most of us are down here, right? We're not waking up full of energy every day. We're down here. We're exhausted. We're running on fumes. We're completely bones. And I remember that feeling myself, like in my bones, feeling so, so tired. So tired. And so, what I invite you to think about, and if you can relate to this feeling, please let me know, right? What I invite you to think about as I go through and I share these common mistakes that I see, I want you to think about what happens to that level of tea in your teapot that's already running on empty, right? Already running low. So, the number one mistake that I see is that we try to go back to our pre-cancer life, right? Up here, focusing on the things that we can't do yet. Perhaps saying, I just want to feel like me again. I just want to feel like myself. And so we keep pushing and pushing and pushing to do the things that we always did before. And I want you to think of your teapot. How does that feel when you do that? Does it make that level of tea feel even less? Does it suck you dry even more? Probably, right? Probably. Number two, thinking that there's never enough time for you. Okay. What do you do with your teapot all day long? What are you doing? Are you spending all of your energy focusing on oops, Karen, what are you doing here? It's an interesting one. Are you focusing your energy on pouring into everybody else's teacups? Who do you take care of? Writing a list is always a fun thing to do. Who do you take care of? Think about, focus on all day, every day. Because this is you pouring your energy into other people's teacups, giving your energy away to others, and then turning around and saying that there's never enough time for me. Why? Because you put yourself last. Because you put yourself at the bottom of the list, if you're even on the list. I always remember my client Beth saying to me, Karen, when we met, you used to talk about being at the bottom of the list. And she said, you know what? I wasn't even on the list because all of her time and energy and focus was going to everybody else. Significant other, kids, grandkids, friends, co-workers. Where does your energy go? And you're left thinking there's never time for you. Huge mistake. Huge mistake if you want to get your energy back. Huge. And if you want to do what you can to help lower your risk of recurrence. And the third mistake I see all the time is feeling bad about investing time or money in yourself. Right? And if you can relate to any of these, let me know. So I see all the time, like we would enroll our kid in a program. My son used to play baseball, so I think about this. Like we would get him a baseball coach, right? He was a pitcher. He had a pitching coach. Why? Because that would help him in what he was doing. My daughter used to love to sing. We would invest in her singing. Whatever they needed, they got. And especially as a single mom, was I on the list? No, I was at the bottom of that list, because I had a hard time investing in myself, but I would in others, no question asked. No questions asked. So, today we're talking about these ways to boost our energy. So, we talked about the three biggest mistakes that I see: trying to go back, thinking that there's never time for you, and feeling bad about investing time or money in yourself, especially if you're feeling guilty about the time and money it has taken to get you through your journey. And I know I'm talking hard, painful truths here. And I'm sorry, but sometimes we have to get really honest with ourselves to understand where we are and where we want to go. It's all done with love. Please understand that. Okay, never judgment, observation. And this is what I see. This is what I see. So I'm just calling out what I see within our communities. Now, so how do we start to boost that energy? How do we fill up that teapot? Right? It's what you're here for. It's what you really want to know. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Karen's formula for thriving. Now, over the past 7 years, and I'm going to give you some brief highlights here, I've gone through the loss of my mom, my dad, and my younger brother. Moved house 7 times in 8 years. My husband almost lost his right arm in a motorcycle accident. One of our moves was to the Caribbean. We lived in the Caribbean for a couple of years. I had Zika virus, shingles, then, of course, breast cancer, and finding out that I carry the BRCA2 genetic mutation. This is the past 7 years. So, as you can imagine, over that time, I've kind of had to bounce back and figure out what it takes to keep going when life gets tough. Had a lot of experience and a lot of practice, so much so that I developed a formula to help me do it. And that's what I'm share, and I go into detail in this in Thrivership School, my VIP group coaching program. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end, but let me tell you about my formula for thriving, because this is how we get our energy back so that we can thrive and not just stay in that drained, sucked dry, wiped out survival mode, just going through the motions, almost like you're sleepwalking through your life. And if that's what you want, that's perfectly fine. But if it's not, listen to Karen's formula for thriving. Now, the first one is K. Know who you are, right? You just went through a major trauma. Every single time we go through major trauma, I did this entire formula, by the way, every time I went through all of those things that I just shared. Every time. So know who you are at this stage in your life. It's different. We are different after cancer. Doesn't necessarily mean bad. It can be really, really good when we look into it. When we invest in our personal growth, our personal development, when we invest in how to actually get our energy back. A, ask what's working and what isn't. We were talking about one of the biggest mistakes been trying to go back. Well, ask what was actually working from back there. I guarantee it wasn't 100% of everything that you're trying to go back to. So this is the brilliant opportunity for you to pick and choose and say, okay, well, what do I invite forth into this new stage of my life from back there? Is it all of it? Or do I just want the good bits? I choose the good bits. The good bits are the bits that are going to fill up my teapot, that are going to give me energy and joy and all of those things. Help, right? Or respect who you are and what you want. And what does that mean? That means saying no to some other things. I'll go into that in a second. I, it's all inside you already. You just don't yet know how to tap into it. If you keep looking and saying, okay, well, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? We're starting over all the time, just like when you go on a diet, right? Every new diet, you're starting over from scratch versus diving into a proven system that really works, that you can build on, that you can grow on. N becomes your favorite word. No becomes your favorite word. And S, self-care is your non-negotiable. Okay, so let's take a look, and I'm going to break it down into like 3 steps. Again, this is what we work on in Thrivership School. Step number 1 of 3, let's answer these big life questions, right? Knowing who you are, figuring out, asking what's working and what isn't, right? Step number 2, start setting boundaries, saying no. The problem with learning to say no and set boundaries is so often we try to do it and we don't know who we are yet. We have to know who we are because that then makes saying no to things that don't serve us, that don't top up our teapot, makes it really easy. But we've got to do that first step, right? And then step number 3, nailing the basic healthy habits, what you're eating, how you're managing your stress, how you're taking care of yourself every day. So these are the 3 effective self-care solutions to boost your energy really quickly as soon as you start to focus on them. Okay, so let me recap them. I just want to go through them again. These are all part of Karen's formula for thriving that I teach in Thrivership School. We're going to answer the big life questions, knowing who you are, asking what's working and what isn't, setting boundaries, learning to say no with ease so that your energy level, you're saying no to the things that aren't working for you. You're saying no to toxic, draining relationships. All of these things that are sucking your teapot dry, we're saying no to. That sounds good. It's going to mean less tea is being spilled out, right? And then 3, nailing the basic healthy habits, which we can do when we know who we are and what we want. And so you may be wondering, Karen, how do I learn more about this Thrivership School thing that you talk about? Well, I invite you to, and there's very limited availability for this, some of these spots have already been taken, is to book a free 45-minute one-on-one call, just you and I. It's called Time to Thrive. Got an extra R in there, sorry. And it's available to you today. Now, it's not for everybody, okay? So listen up for a second. If you are ready, like really ready to do something about where you're feeling, you're ready to embrace my formula for thriving. You're saying, you know what, Karen, I think you're the one that's truly going to help me. Then book the call. Okay, the link to book the call is right where you're watching this video. Wherever the description is, either above it or below it, there's a link there. And when you click that link, the first thing you do is set the time zone to your time zone. What does that do? It makes all of the times that I have available, which are limited. There's only one of me. It makes them in your time zone. And it syncs beautifully. This is where I love tech, with my calendar to show you when I have time available. Okay, go ahead and just pick the time that works best for you. Okay, it'll be over Zoom. No glam team necessarily. Trust me, come as you are. And what we'll achieve on that call are 3 things. We're going to look at exactly where you are today. Where you are today, so that we know where you are. Just like when you have a GPS on a car, right? You got to know where you're starting to know where you're going. Then we're going to look at what your vision for your life would actually be. No holds barred. And don't worry about that now. I don't want you even thinking about it. I will give you the exact tools on this call to help you create that vision. And thirdly, we're going to look at what's getting in your way of you getting there. And if I believe that Thrivership School is the vessel that is going to help you get there, and you think it's a great fit, I will extend an invitation for you to join. It's an invitation. You get to say no if it doesn't work for you. Okay, so there's no obligation. But I want you to make sure that when you are booking that call that you are ready for change. You're not just like, yeah, I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to keep doing what I've always done. Then this call isn't for you. Okay? I send love, support, everything your way. But this call isn't for you if you just know that you're not willing to make any changes. Okay? So to recap, okay, what we went over today, 3 effective solutions to quickly boost your energy level. Okay? I want to recap that yes, breast cancer related fatigue is normal, but it does not mean that you just have to suck it up and stay where you are and wait until you feel better. Not when there are effective solutions to help top up the level of tea in your teapot. Now, I'm not saying that we can get to perfection. I'm not saying that. But wouldn't just a little bit more energy help you? Wouldn't it make you feel better? Wouldn't it stop you from snapping at everybody in sight and start to enjoy your life again? I think so. So, the 3 things that I believe help you the quickest, right, is making sure that we are answering these big life questions, knowing who you are, knowing, asking what's working, what isn't. Like, so many people say to me when I'm chatting with them, Karen, I just feel like I went through this breast cancer journey and this light bulb went off in my head. And I feel like I'm just meant for more. I'm meant to pay it forward in some way. I feel like there's a bigger life out there for me than I've been living. I felt that too. That's why I went on this path to give back and to serve this amazing community. And if I can do it, then so can you. You just need to know how. So, following Karen's formula for thriving, know who you are, asking what's working, what isn't, respecting what you want, not feeling guilty about that, right? Setting boundaries easily. And self care becomes your non negotiable every single day because that is what tops up your teapot, right? If we look at our teapot, that is what tops up that teapot. So if you want to exist with that teapot really low, that's okay. You want to stay there, that's okay. I'm just giving you an opportunity for something different. And Thrivership School may be that opportunity. We start September 1st. Don't wait. There's limited spots available. This is my VIP group coaching program, and I keep it intimate for a reason because I truly want to get to know you, support you, and help you to move forward on your path. Okay. Feel free to send me any private messages if you have questions. But the best thing to do, if you're not sure, book a call. Let's set aside some time, have a cup of tea, virtually, unfortunately, and see if Thrivership School is a good fit for you. Okay, that's it for today, guys. I will see you next week on our weekly Heart to Heart. Join us Mondays at noon Eastern Time in the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community, or you can also catch us on YouTube. Susan, thank you so much for joining. I will see you soon. Bye for now, guys.